Welcome to the Beit Din, the court of the Jewish people. In this case before the Beit Din, we find Jason, a 13-year-old boy who has been regularly attending youth group meetings at his congregation, confronted by his mother, who has discovered that he is surreptitiously planning a bar mitzvah at the insistence and urging of Brad, who is his youth group counselor, his youth group advisor. Brad is a rabbinic student who feels that he could be of help to the boy in preparing a religious future. His mother, however, Phyllis Ehrenberg, feels that religion is not something that's part of her life, certainly not in any organized sense, and has not really been part of her husband's life since he was a child. They come to the Beit Din saying that in this case, Jason should have a bar mitzvah if he wants it. The mother says it's not something that's part of what we think is appropriate for the boy, and they ask the rabbis to speak to the question of the belated bar mitzvah. Sitting on the Beit Din today are Rabbi Moses Meshaloff, Dayan, Rabbi Howard Addison of Beit Din, and Rabbi Mordecai Simon, Dayan.
Mrs. Ehrenberg, what is your objection to Jason participating in a bar mitzvah ceremony?
I object because I am not active in any church, and his father does not actively go to church, to a synagogue of any kind, and therefore I don't see how he would himself would know what he wants to partake in himself.
I see.
And David has kept on pursuing this matter with him, going over my head.
I see. You say that you're not active in a church. Are you a member of, officially a member of a Jewish faith at this time?
No, I'm not. I'm not a member of any faith right now.
I see. What faith were your parents? What
They
faith
were
were
Jewish.
you born? Your parents were Jewish?
Yes, they were.
I see. But they stopped believing as well? Or
Well,
is
they
this-
both passed away, and I do not believe any longer.
I see. I see. Jason, what does participation in the youth group mean to you at this particular time?
Well, I meet a lot of people there. My life didn't, I used to be very kept in and quiet, and now I'm have more friends, a lot more friends than before, and I'm meeting new people, and we're doing field trips and things like that.
Mrs. Ehrenberg, Jason began attending the youth group activities with your permission?
That's correct. He certainly did, because I thought that would be very good for him to be more outgoing. But now that this has happened, that they've gone ahead and taken part in this without my knowledge. I don't know if it's because of a party, if he wants a bar mitzvah party or not. I have no idea what all this is about. But they went ahead and talked behind my back.
But you knew that this was specifically a Jewish youth group, and
Yes,
that,
I did.
This was the
I did know
activities.
this.
Brad, you're the advisor to this youth group, yes?
Right.
In terms of your teaching of the children and your counseling of them, could you describe the program of the youth group?
Well, I carry a pretty wide program, and we have activities like Jason said, field trips. We go to the movies. We have a little athletics, and then also I lead them into religious services and religious discussions. And some of the boys show more interest than others, and sometimes some leave a little earlier, and we have later religious discussions.
One final question, Mrs. Ehrenberg. Since Jason has been participating in youth group activities, have you noticed any change in his behavior towards you? Is he still a respectful boy? Do you enter into disputes?
No, we don't have disputes, but we don't, I seem like he's drawing further and further away from me, and more closer to David, which I resent.
Rabbi Simon.
Jason, you're 13 years old. You would consider yourself to be a responsible young man?
Yes,
You're capable of making your own decisions in many matters?
I believe so.
Not doing an end run around your parents, who, needless to say, have jurisdiction and responsibility for you, but in terms of your own spiritual guidance, you feel that you want to make up your own mind.
Yes, I would like to.
And in accordance with that, and together with your friends, you have come to this conclusion that you wish to study and prepare yourself to become a bar mitzvah.
Yes, I would very much like that.
Mrs. Ehrenberg, as you indicated a moment ago, the respect and the action that Jason has to you and to your husband is one of respect and responsibility. He has not shirked any of his duties in the home, anything that you have asked him to do?
Well, the only thing is, after this, he makes his bar mitzvah. Then will he continue practicing in that faith? Because his father certainly didn't, and I certainly didn't.
Well, do you feel that that's the question at the moment?
Well, I don't know if he's capable or old enough at this stage of life to know exactly what he wants. And I think, as being his mother, that I have a right to direct him more so than anyone else.
But you were in effect setting the pattern in which you're saying this you can't do and that you can.
Well, it's, as I said, they went over my head, the youth group did, and I'm very upset with Brad because of this, because they were talking about him making a bar mitzvah.
And yet you said you sent him there to learn wholesome
learned-
commitment and values, knowing that this was a synagogue and knowing that the possibility of these are the commitment and values of the Jewish tradition that are housed in that house of study, learning, and meeting.
But I wasn't aware that they would go ahead and make plans on this without my knowledge.
Rabbi Meshulon.
Jason, when is your birthday?
It's in May.
In May. You were 13 in May,
Yeah.
right? You know that the Ten Commandments says you must honor mother and father, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Then why do you insist on wanting a bar mitzvah?
I feel that my life is plain. I have no goal to work for right now.
I see. Brad, did you know of this conflict between Jason and his parents and that you were helping aggravate that conflict?
I wasn't really that aware of it. As you know, he was there, and I thought it was with parental consent. And as I say, we just practice some religious philosophy. We talk about it, and I was teaching him some of the how to chant the Torah blessings.
I see.
And I really was not aware of this conflict.
Phyllis, I'd like to ask you one question. I feel sometimes that a person's bark is worse than his bite. Do you give to charities?
Yes,
You give to Jewish charities,
to all charities.
to all charities. Are you interested in Zionism, for example?
No.
No, not particularly. Did you check to see whether the program that your boy was entering upon had a positive attitude towards Zionism or religious observances?
No, I did not.
I see. I'd like to thank you all very much for your testimony, and at this time we will adjourn to consider the parameters of Jewish law in this matter and the particulars of your case. Thank you. Rabbis, we have a very unusual case here. In most instances, it's the parents that encourage the child to go to the synagogue and the child that is resistant. In this case, the tables seem to have been turned where the child has become involved in the youth group activities, and it's the mother, a professed atheist or agnostic, who chooses not to have her son become bar mitzvah. I think we could tell the anger of the mother by the fact that she referred to the youth group leader by his last name, David, a few times, not even calling him by his first name. Yet it seems that in this particular case, the direction for us is quite clear. That since Jason is 13 years old, then in fact with the ceremony or without, he is a bar mitzvah, one who's responsible for observing the mitzvot, and therefore can choose to participate in this ceremony and continue with the youth group activities in terms of Talmud Torah. However, I feel that there is certain instruction perhaps we should give to the youth group leader, because in so many instances now in our community, we have children who have taken on additional Jewish observance and become alienated for their parents, and other times, sometimes parents who become balei tshuva, turn back to Judaism at an older age and leave their children bewildered. So I think perhaps a word of instruction to the youth group advisor would also be wise in terms of mending breaches in the relationship of parent and child in this particular instance.
I would say the intentions of the group leader, Brad, were very honorable. I think he was very sincere in what he wanted to do and what he saw his responsibility to do. It's a youth group of the synagogue, meeting in the synagogue, trying to teach Jewish values. The interesting thing is the testimony of Phyllis Arenberg, who said, I sent him to the synagogue because I thought that would be a good place to make friends and to learn the right things. And then she protests, maybe for the shock value of saying, I don't belong to any church. But yet, by definition, she is Jewish because of her parentage. And the child is Jewish, and as was just pointed out, Ben Shalosh Yisrael Mitzvot, he became bar mitzvah without the formal act itself.
I think that the mother would have liked to have had sympathetic understanding from her parents when she chose to differ from their way of life. I think, looking at her, that she will have sympathy and understanding in the way of life that he has chosen for himself. Perhaps the boy will bring her to a better understanding of what she does believe in and what her responsibilities are to herself as a human being and to the community which she doesn't deny she's part of.
So therefore, I would say that we would rule that he can participate in the bar mitzvah ceremony. We've considered not only the issues in this case, but also the depth of feeling on both sides. Mrs. Ehrenberg, we see that you're so upset that you even referred to the youth leader, Bradley David, by his last name a few times, indicating your anger. Jason, we also understand how the youth group has not only enhanced your feeling for setting goals in your life and having values, but also has brought you into a social climate in which you feel accepted and which you feel comfortable. According to Jewish law, when a young man reaches the age of 13, then he is responsible for his own religious decisions and for fulfilling the Jewish commandments. Therefore, it is the decision of the Beit Din that Jason can participate in a bar mitzvah ceremony. However, we would like to advise you, Jason, and Bradley as well, that one of the tenets of Jewish life is found in the Ten Commandments, is kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, the honoring of mother and father. And therefore, involvement in religious life is not to be construed as a way of setting up walls and barriers between parents and children, but rather bringing understanding and bringing a shalom bayit, peace within the home. And therefore, Brad, we would hope that you would instruct Jason and the other children in the youth group to see their religious involvement as one way of trying to bring them closer to their parents through discussion, through trying to reach mutual understanding on both sides, and that in this case, to uphold the finest traditions of Jewish life. Therefore, we render our verdict that Jason may participate in the bar mitzvah ceremony.
And so in this case of the belated bar mitzvah, the rabbis of the Beit Din have found that Jason can indeed celebrate this momentous occasion in his life as a young Jew, but with the encouragement of the Beit Din that Brad, his youth group advisor and rabbinic student, use it as an opportunity to help bring the family closer together rather than to create another wall to separate them, to create that sense of shalom bayit. He has responsibility for his actions, all right, but part of that responsibility is to respond to the needs and wishes of his parents as well as those of his own. The rabbis have found then that Jason can become a belated bar mitzvah.
I think it's important for everybody to find a sense of belonging, a sense of community.
We're one, and I feel this common thread with all of my brethren.
Sadie Katz and her daughter Karen Goldblatt with her husband Richard Goldblatt come to the Beit Din, the court of the Jewish people today, to discuss a difficult family circumstance. Sadie lives by herself, as she has done for some years since the death of her husband. She feels that that's a source of independence for her and a way of life that she very much enjoys. However, Karen, her daughter, married with children and living in the suburbs on their own, feel that she is becoming frail in her age and perhaps shouldn't be living alone. They feel it would be most appropriate for her to be put into a care facility, into a nursing home. Sadie insists that she prefers either her freedom as she currently has it or some other alternative besides a nursing home. The Beit Din today will examine a case of frail freedom. Sitting on the Beit Din today are Rabbi Mordecai Simon, Dayan, Rabbi Moses Meshaloff, Av Beit Din, and Rabbi Howard Addison, Dayan.
We know that the matter before us today is not a question of a violation of the biblical respect of children for parents. I think that in each case it's an inner struggle rather than a struggle with someone else. You all mean the best. I know, Mrs. Katz, for your children and you both for your mother. But with all that, I wonder, we've heard of one or two incidents which make you feel that mother would be best in a home of her own. Can you tell me, Richard, are these incidents frequent?
Well, enough that we've had to become very careful about her behavior. We know she has left the car running so that it ran out of gas while it was parked. And then that led to a disturbing evening. When she left the stove on, and that was dangerous. Enough that it's made us very concerned.
Mm-hmm. Have you discussed this with a social worker at any time?
We have talked to a few people. Again, Sadie does not want to consider it a serious problem. I'm afraid she's avoiding some issues.
Karen, can you tell me just why Mother would not feel comfortable, or you would not feel comfortable having her in your home?
Well, right now at this time, we have a child, and we're looking to have another child soon. I'm working a part-time job right now, and I'm very worried that with my mother at home with us, that it would cause some problems in our own home. I'm worried that our schedules would be thrown off. I'm worried that it would cause problems between my husband and myself also.
Tell me, what kind of help do you think your mother would get in a nursing home that she doesn't have right now?
My main concern is that she is alone. There isn't anyone with her during the day or the night. If there was an accident, say if she slipped in the shower and hit her head, there would be no one there to help her if she was unconscious. These are the sorts of things that we worry about. Of course, you know about the car and the fire. I worry about things that could happen like that and things more seriously in the home, and no one would be there to help her.
Mrs. Katz, have you been to a doctor recently? What does the doctor think about your health?
The doctor doesn't seem to think that I am a person who is ill. I have a few things that we all get in old age, a little arthritis. But as far as he can see, I'm active. I lead an active life, and the things that my dear children are talking about are things that I did in my earlier years. I left the car running. It's something I did many years ago, before I reached this age. I burned a pot before I reached this age. So I do not feel that my life, my health, my well-being is in jeopardy by being alone. I have my freedom, my independence to do what I want to do when I'm alone.
Do you have any friends who are now living in homes? How do you think they have adjusted?
I don't think they have, Rabbi. I'm sorry to say this. I go to visit some who are a little older than I, and they are less firm. Infirm, perhaps you might say. They are infirm. And when I go to see them, I come away sad. They are not happy people. And I am happy when I come back to my home and put the key in the lock and come in and sit down and relax. And this is all I ask. My dear children worry about me, and they're very kind, but they shouldn't.
Rabbi Simon?
Mrs. Katz, have you ever participated in some of the community activities which have been arranged for senior citizens?
Yes, Rabbi. I go to the sisterhood lectures. I visit with my friends in the apartment house. I am truly not alone. My neighbors have been very kind. And I realize that I live very far from my daughter. She telephones me very often, and I have communication. I never feel alone.
Would you prefer to continue living in your home or to live with your children?
I feel they deserve the privilege and the pleasure of being together without any interference. I haven't interfered so far, and I don't want to put myself in that position. As long as I am as firm, I can go downstairs into my car, drive away. I don't go far. I don't drive in the snow and ice. As long as I can do these little things, I want to be independent and alone.
Rabbi Addison?
Just one question for Karen and Richard. To what extent do you have an involvement in your mother's life at this particular time in terms of frequent contact, visits, these sorts of things?
Well, we phone every day. I speak with my mother every day on the phone, and then usually I pass by her home once a week during the week and then on weekends. So we see each other quite a bit.
Well, we seem to find a very loving family with a very difficult problem where love is an obstacle rather than a help. Having spoken with you, I think we are about ready to leave to discuss the problem and bring you our solution. You know, rabbis, it has always intrigued me. The Talmud says in Sanhedrin, Ein betin musharin al kibbut av ve'ein. You can't legislate respect for mother and father. But here we have a case where the children want to do everything for the best of the mother and father, but perhaps don't know how to do it. They're too subjective in the matter. Sages tell us parents must be supplied with food and clothing and lodging and all the rest of these things. They would like to do it, but don't know how best to do it. I personally feel that they need some professional help. And no better place in our city of Chicago than the Council for Jewish Elderly. If they would come to the evaluation committee of the council, they would tell them what the strengths of that mother are. She looked like a very capable person to me, very well able to take care of herself. She may need only minimal help, not the maximum help of a nursing home. And I think the children will be very delighted to know that their mother can live practically as free and normal a life as formerly, with the additional care and protection that an agency will be able to work out for her.
Well, the mother impressed me as having a good handle both on herself and on the community, of she herself reaching out to friends and others and recognizing the situation of how can she help them and in turn help herself. She drove by herself. She wasn't demanding. She was in touch with her family, they with her. They had this interaction. There wasn't a clash or sharpness between them. And I think just tighten up whatever is, oil up those hinges. I think that they can make a fine adjustment, and the evaluation center, I think, is a very, very excellent place, together with some of the outreach programs which the Council for Jewish Elderly or whatever agency is operating in whatever community can help.
Well, we probably have a prime example here of the principle, kol hamarbeh mima'et, that in this case, by trying to give her too much help, they really might be taking away from the strengths and the abilities of this particular woman. Sounds as if she's active in her congregational sisterhood, she has numbers of friends in her building, and that if she were taken out of the environment that she knows and placed into an unfamiliar surrounding, that this might add disorientation that doesn't seem to be there now in a woman who's not only in full possession of her faculties, but seems to be most active and most alert and most concerned as well. Therefore, I think Rabbi Meshelov's suggestion is the proper one, that perhaps an evaluation, some kind of a checking in, the buddy services that they have in terms of people keeping contact with each other, might eliminate some of the problems that have brought about the concern of the children.
You can see the dread of the nursing home that Mrs. Katz had, and that is the very last resource. There are a dozen other resources that will help her live a normal life, and that children will be happy to see a mother living than to incarcerate her in a nursing home. So I think that we shall advise them that they go look for such counseling from the Council of Jewish Elderly. Karen and Richard, and Mrs. Katz, Sadie, I think we have here a case of too much love. You are worried about the weaknesses of your mother. You're worried about the inconvenience to your children. In Jewish society today, we have organizations that don't believe in stressing the weaknesses, but the strengths of each individual. The Council for the Jewish Elderly in Chicago, similar organizations in other cities, can advise both of you as to how we can least change the style of life of Sadie, and at the same time bring assurance to you that when it will be necessary, there will be supervision and there will be care. We still feel that Sadie has a lot of left life in her, God bless her, and she can live in her own way, in her own life, with the additional supervision that an agency can give.
And so the rabbis of the Beit Din, recognizing the concern of Karen and Richard Goldblatt for their mother Sadie, nevertheless want to preserve her right to live as she chooses and to have that sense of independence that has been so important to her till now and remains important at this point in her life. And so the rabbis have found that indeed Sadie may maintain her apartment, may stay where she is, and would hope that the support of the community might be available as needed, both for her and for others in her family. The rabbis have found then that this issue of frail freedom has been strengthened by the love and concern that this family has for each other.